Welcome to Pivot Podcast, a show for founders, leaders, and executive coaches who want clarity, confidence, and repeatable growth. This is Mauricio, and he is the owner of DTG. We're going to speak with him today a little bit about his story and where he plans on going. How are you doing today, Mauricio?
I'm doing great, Chuck. Another day above ground, right? Another day alive.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Always a good day. Another chance to do something wonderful.
Exactly. Make a difference. Exactly.
Yes, sir. So, speaking of making a difference, why did you get into this specific business, diversity training,
Yeah.
especially, was it the 90s that you started?
Yes. So I'm the son of immigrants, and I have to say this today, legal immigrants. My father was a career State Department guy from Colombia, and my mother from Colombia, South America. And I grew up seeing horrible things, people saying things to us and other people. I've always been kind of shocked, weary of people that hate other people that they've never met. So on a very raw level, it's like, wow, dad or mom, why would they say that to us? They don't even know who we are. So it started at a very young age. I'm a storyteller. This is how I train. This is how I coach. I'm the president and founder of the Diversity Training Group. June 1, we are in business for 30 years. So I've seen a lot, experienced a lot. I've trained in every state. I've trained and coached in every state but North Dakota. Work and life have taken me to 70 countries. I've flown 1.5 million miles. So I've seen a lot. I've been fighting. I'm in the fight of challenging bias, prejudice, hate, and I've moved into this space. I wrote a book called Tackling Toxicity, and I moved into this space of psychological safety, trust, emotional intelligence, employee engagement. So to answer your question in a long way, I was driven to, like moth to a light, I was driven to understanding why all this hate. How can people hate people they've never met? And in the work turned into coaching, it turned into training. I started my business on a houseboat in the Inner Harbor in Baltimore 30 years ago. Yeah, I can show you a picture of it. I'm very proud of my first office. This is my Hewlett Packard garage.
Oh, I love it.
And started there. My first clients were NASA, Hewlett Packard, Black and Decker, Ryland Homes, off my boat. And when I lived in Baltimore, it was 15 minutes from BWI. I fly constantly. Now I'm shorter. I'm even closer to Dulles. But I'm on the road, coaching, training, doing assessments. I'm an expert witness. I might have to testify in court. Or thanks to COVID, doing a lot more of this virtual learning and training and coaching. And with my new book called Tackling Toxicity, I wrote this last year. It came out this year, or came out last year, it's the previous year. How toxic are the times we live in? And last year I thought was horrible. I think we're going to go to another level in the new year. If January is already not a harbinger of horrible, disastrous news.
Right.
So driven by my upbringing, driven by the work, driven by current events.
Okay. And so that's why you got into it. Tell us a little bit about, being out on your own, fending for yourself,
Yeah.
grabbing clients, making it. You mentioned some pretty big names there from out of the houseboat. How did you pull that off? What did that look like?
Well, that's okay. That's a great question. I was the head of DE&I, diversity, equity, inclusion, for another firm, and I had a fallout with the founder, and I had those clients with that previous firm. And then when I jumped, they all came with me. I won't get into specifics of why I left, other than what was promised to me was then pulled back. And I said, oh, well, I'm going to work so hard. Why stay here if you're not going to support me? So when I left, Black and Decker, Hewlett Packard, Ryland, NASA, Signal Aerospace, they all followed me because they didn't actually like my boss either, ironically. So I went out on my own. But, how did I grow? And I own my office here in downtown Herndon. So I went from being in a little houseboat, 36-foot floating Winnebago, I call it. Slept 8. Downtown Baltimore, spectacular view, but really low overhead. My boat payment was $220 a month. My slip fee was $300 a month, and that included utilities. I didn't have to cut any grass, and it came with a pool and tennis court. It's glorious. I lived in Club Med for cheap. And that low overhead allowed me to refocus, reinvest all the monies I was making in marketing. And how I market is I write articles, I publish press releases, I get in the paper. That was the early days. Now, because of my book, Tackling Toxicity, podcasts like this is my probably 6th podcast in 4 weeks. It's crazy. and I just landed 3 more. So the podcast is, in my opinion, is a great way of marketing, getting your name out there, writing, publishing. And then when you write a book, this is crazy, they call you and they go, hey, you wrote this book. Can you come and speak at this conference? Can you come and speak at this trade show? Can you come and speak? Well, between you and me, Chuck, they haven't read the book, right? They don't know if it's any good, but oh, you wrote a book. Oh, you wrote a book. But I'm a better trainer than I am a writer, in my opinion. And actually, the way I wrote this book, it's all the stories from my training. So, and I just finished the audio book. Well, not just, it feels like just, but last summer. So in the book, Tackling Toxicity, I'm hired to coach very toxic people. And the book comes with my coaching. You know, it's read it before, read it during, read it after. So it's a part of my whole strategy in terms of marketing and selling. In between you and me, once you've written something, and by the way, don't think it has to be a book, articles. I haven't done a TED Talk. That's probably the next thing I'm thinking about doing. But right now, I'm just having a ball with the book. And the book has elevated all my consulting and training work.
Okay. And do you have any plans to expound on that, to add courses or workbooks or anything to the original book?
Excellent question. And the reality is the workshop existed first. I then wrote the book. And so when I go out and speak, I'm bundling the workshop with the book and now the audio book, which I narrated myself. Because everybody who's seen, I've trained 1 million people in my career and I train regularly. When I train, the books are in the back of the room. So I'm moving product, I'm moving intellectual property, and then they go, oh, we want you to come in. Every time I speak, I land 3, 4, 5 clients. No, we want you to come in. We got this one person who really needs some attention. Or we want you to train management. We want to train all our supervisors in this. You know, when I wrote the book, I was in a cohort group with there's 8 authors, and they all thought, I'm going to write a book, and I'm going to be a New York Times bestseller. No. I'm the only one who said, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to sell some books, but I wanted to elevate my consulting and training and coaching practice. None of these other authors have that. So they're not asking me because they realize that's where the money is. 2 million books come out a year. Most don't sell more than 50 copies. Not mine. Right. I've done well, but I never believed that I was going to be right up there with Stephen King,
Okay. So I guess 30 years in business, you had some clients a little fortuitous, a little lucky to have them come over with you so that you could start right out of the gate with some income coming in. But that doesn't carry for 30 years. You must have had to acquire some new clients along the way.
Hundreds of clients. Major League Soccer, the Airport Authority, Dominion Energy. The thing about my work is I'm in all sectors, so I'm diversified. I'm not just in hospitality or healthcare or federal government. I'm in all spaces. So that diversifies the risk. A, B, a lot of word of mouth, a lot of referral work, and then a lot of repeat work. Because, I come in and I do training, and then they go, we have a couple people that need some extra attention. So that turns into follow-on coaching work. Or they call me back and go, okay, last year you did DE&I training. This year we want you to do specifically sexual harassment prevention training or mentoring. So, I tell people, don't ever say you're a generalist you say you're a multi-specialist. I do investigations for clients. I do 360s where I interview a bunch of people and then give that person feedback. And that 360 supports the coaching because it's one-on-one. It's a combination of writing, speaking, referrals, word of mouth. But if I can give, I think early on something I did right that most people do wrong. I didn't name my firm, Chuck, Mauricio Velasquez and Associates. Who am I? I'm a nobody. I named my firm Diversity Training Group. So I don't have to educate the market, the public, on what it is I do. If a company calls me and like, hey, what do you do? I'm like, you're not a prospective client, right? And I was doing DE&I work 30 years ago. Now, that's another development, right? Since this administration and the cycle they were here before, they're very anti-DE&I. So I am in a situation or context right now, an environment right now that's very anti what I do. But I still have plenty of clients doing the work despite the nonsense, despite the hate that's being put out about my field that fights hate. They are spreading bias and prejudice about a field that challenges bias and prejudice. So I always thought that this was going to pass like a thunderstorm because they just got no credibility to stand on. And hate right now is a growth industry. Oh my goodness. Even with the shooting yesterday, you just, every day, there's like, this is bad, right?
Right, right, right. So let me ask you then, are you, after 30 years in business, where are you at? Are you planning to still, are you trying to grow? Are you still looking for new clients, new
Oh
revenue
yeah,
sources?
always. I do, I don't see myself retiring. I love what I do. I mean, every day I am blessed. I pinch myself that I'm getting paid to do this. Years from now, right now I'm on a 4-day work week. I'd like to go to 3 the next couple of years, but I'm not retiring. I love what I do. And if you look at the market, my God. And with this anti-D headwind, some of my peers have had to get out of the business, leaving more work for the few of us that are left. And when the blood comes back into the body, we're going to be slammed. I don't see where I am right now is growing, doing less for more pay. Once you write a book and you speak like I do, you can command higher fees. So that's always been my strategy, is try to get higher fees. Why not get paid more per hour, per half day, or per full day if I'm naturally recognized? Like, I'll give you an example of a client. Hey, you wrote a book. My CEO wants somebody who wrote a book. Will you come and train for us for a half a day? We'll pay you 15 grand plus travel. And we want 250 copies of your book. I'm like, sign me up, and those are my favorite clients, is they want the book, they want me, and then they want follow-on consulting work. So coaching work.
Wow. I mean, that sounds like pretty good work if you can get it.
Yeah. Now that's not every day, right? But I will say this, look, I'm a consultant, coach, trainer, like all the people listening. You got 22 billable days in your month. And for 30 years, I've been filling them up, doing enough work to, and that's the other thing. This is about sharing tips and best practices. I bought my office. I am the landlord and the tenant, and my office has been paid off a long time ago. Every dollar in rent that goes from from my firm, Diversity Training Group, to me, the landlord, no FICA, no FUTA, no Social Security. My accountant, when I did this 25 years ago, he's like, this is brilliant. This is what this is what the DuPonts do. They own the land in the building and they lease it to the companies and they make rental income. So on a very small scale, that was one of the breakthroughs. When I lived on the boat, I was landlord and tenant. I did move my office on top of a dry cleaner in downtown Baltimore for 3 years. I was outgrowing my boat. And this is crazy. He's my dry cleaner. And I'm up there. It's Federal Hill. It's the top of the hill. I walked up to it from my yacht club on the water. And George, his name was George, Greek guy, old guy. I think he was like 130. And he says, I said to him, I'm in line with all these people. I'm like, hey, what's with the for rent sign? And it was a corner unit. And in the far corner of the window was this for rent sign. He goes, oh. And he gets out of line. All these people are waiting. I'm not in the front. And he grabs me and we go outside. We go to the side and we go, and there's a little door there. I hadn't seen the door. And we go up these stairs and it's a flat on top of this dry cleaner. And he says, what do you think? I'm like, you're renting this flat, this space? Yeah. And it was the full length of his dry cleaner. And I said, how much do you want for it? $200 a month. I said, $200 a month. I'll be back with half of the year's rent. It was. I had, what is it? I could see the Inner Harbor from my office. I mean, this is $1,000, $10,000 rent because it was in a row house in a residential part of Baltimore. I loved it. The only problem is it had a chemical smell. I'm probably going to die of cancer. But I was on top of it for a couple of years. Moved to Virginia when my wife got married. I had the firm in the basement. I had half a dozen people in my basement. My wife got pregnant. And she says, you know what nesting means? I'm like, nesting? What's nesting? We build a nest, fill it with our own chicks. We can't have these other birds in the nest. I'm like, what are you telling me? Get out of my house. That's what I moved. And instead of renting, I bought this office, and it's one of the best things I've ever done.
I like it. So let me ask you this. How do you see AI playing a part? How do you see automations being able to help people in your situation, right? You want to go from 4 days to 3 days. How do you still squeeze 4 days worth of work in by automating repetitive tasks and things like that?
We are looking at that. I looked at Zeely AI. It didn't work for me. We're looking at that. Like I envision an inquiry coming into our website, diversitydtg.com, and they're asking for things and a robot just automates replies. But part of me also says I still like the personal touch. So we're looking at AI for certain tasks. But I was on the phone yesterday with a robot, with an AI bot, and it's so frustrating. And and maybe it's I'm a little bit older, right? I prefer the personal touch. I prefer talking to somebody. So part of AI, like if you're interacting with, say, our website and you're requesting things, yeah, here's something, but I want the personal touch. Somebody's going to call. One of the comments we get a lot about my firm, Diversity Training Group, is that we reply quickly, and we reply, and one of my team reaches out or I reach out. AI is not going to put another layer, another wall between me and the client. So I'm looking at it. We use a little chat GPT. I wrote my whole book. I didn't use any AI in it at all. I don't want to be seen as cheating. I mean, I do teach ethics, but we're looking at it. I'm not saying we've embraced it. I'm not saying we're ignoring it, but we're studying it.
Okay. So, all right. Well, I do appreciate you taking the time. What are the plans for 2026? Where do you see yourself ending the year at?
Yeah. So I'm writing the last 8 clients that my firm, Diversity Training Group, has landed, came from my book. So COVID kind of slowed down my travel schedule, and I did a lot more virtual stuff like this. But the book ramped that back, and I love to travel. I love to fly, and my kids are older. And so what I see this year is more travel that the book generates through conferences and trade shows. And I'm looking at some national venues. And when I speak at a national venue, let's say there's 500 to 5,000 people in the room, that will explode my business. I'm also talking to PR. I want to get on like MSNBC or CNN, because the folks, I watch the news, they don't know how to talk about these things. They have it all wrong. Like the phrase, "Oh, it's a culture war." You've heard this all. Culture. It's not a culture war. It's a values war, right? And nobody uses toxicity in the national conversation, but violence, hate, division is toxic. But we don't want, and nobody's talking about unity or unifying. So I feel I have perspectives that can advance the national conversation. And I've been on TV before. I've been on the radio before. I want to get back there. I think I have good energy, good passion, good presentation. See, I'm a trainer first. I'm a speaker first. I mean, the book, I just took my training and put it in a book. But that is where I want to go. I want to shape the conversation. I mean, think about it. The United States went and grabbed Maduro in Venezuela. They just went and grabbed him and his wife and yanked him. All right, now forget politics for a minute. Well, now anybody can do that. Anybody can do that. China can do that to Taiwan. Ukraine can do that. It's like, whoa. We've crossed. We've jumped the shark. You're old enough to remember. We've jumped the shark. We've crossed these lines that, to me, is very concerning. And it's more than politics. And now we're going to take Greenland. What are you talking about? Take Greenland. And, we looked at the Panama Canal. Like, what are you talking about? These are sovereign. So the hate has gotten to a national conversation, a national level. It is anti-immigrant and anti-LGBTQ and it really is a time that we're in. And I think it's a time for what I say in my book to go from bystander to upstander. And I'm ramping up speaking, training, coaching, writing. I'm ramping up PR, because all of these podcasts that I'm doing, and they're all different. All of you are very good asking different questions. But when when let's say MSNBC or CNN or calls, "Hey, show me something," I'll be like, "Here's a half a dozen podcasts," and this one's a video, right? See, some of the podcasts are only audio. I'm really excited about this latest development of podcasts, because earlier in the year they were all auditory. Now they're visual, and I that's me. I'm gesticulative. I'm passionate, and that doesn't always come through sound. So I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled at this movement. I'm using technology, leveraging technology as best I can.
I appreciate that. Well, I appreciate your time today, Mauricio. Thank you for coming on the Let's Pivot podcast.